The world can see you now. But
Hi, world.
downstairs, it should be.
Boo.
It's the shot. I'm just gonna start recording a little early.
Who won anyway?
The Eagles.
That's why my ex-husband didn't call his kids. It's his team.
The Eagles?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So he was having a good
It's
time.
probably best that he didn't call them.
He was having a good
He
time.
probably like a totally drunk asshole.
Right.
Oh, we're live. I probably shouldn't talk about it like that.
Where did they find you?
No. I'm myself.
No, that's great.
Oh. Do you want me to wait till she gets in?
Oh, you can.
Yeah, I'll wait till she gets
Yeah.
in. I texted her. She's a podcast host too for Luna. She's a Luna's podcast host. Yeah, she interviewed me back in 23, 24. She interviewed. Mother Aya. Oh, there she is. Hi, beautiful.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
So many things, but so good.
I hear you. I think it's the collective at the moment and the planetary alignments.
That feels true. Yeah, quite a ride,
Yeah.
like riding a wave and just really like trusting this unfolding and
Yeah.
and doing it, like accepting, like okay, I'm on a wave.
Yeah. I'm surrendering. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I do know that on Valentine's Day, of course, Mercury moves into Pisces. No, Mercury moves into Aquarius, right? And
Okay.
so it's all about romance and love of yourself and like forgiving yourself and like flowing with it. So we're almost there, girl.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Friday it is.
Well, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm moving through stuff too, and again, I think February's energy collectively and individually is moving through anger too. So I'm definitely moving through some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I got chills down my body. Yeah, just in my experience and some of the people that I've been with, I so feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely happening, but we have to release it, right? So we can bring in, it has to go away. So that's good. I just got done with Alex and Danny. That was so good too to talk about the beautiful medicine. Yeah. So it was good. They did a good job. I know it's not Alex's thing, but she did great.
Yeah, she says that, but she has such a beautiful way of articulating herself.
Yeah.
Such a softness in the way that she delivers it, you know?
And she didn't skip a beat.
The other side.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I look forward to listening to that one.
Yeah, me too. What's that? Full screen. Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna record this too. I forgot to record theirs on my side. They got it on theirs, but that's why I do it in a studio. Let's just have a conversation then. Oh no.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Knowing yourself is key, right?
Yep.
Full screen.
Okay, full screen. And we're good. Okay, go away. Okay, so we're just gonna take a couple breaths. And then is the light behind her okay with the is that gonna be too dark for you?
The light behind her?
Yeah.
I can see her. I can see her well.
Okay.
Oh, that's better.
That's better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to like darken you out, you know?
Yeah.
That's right there.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
That's a sweet spot.
I know. The window was beautiful, but I couldn't see you as well. Okay. Let me get this out. Sorry. View full screen, right? Yeah. It's still there. I'm just playing around and then it'll go away. Okay. Okay, so we're going to take some deep breaths and then I'll count us in backwards from 3. And then I'll open by just saying, welcome back to another episode, blah, blah, blah. Introduce you, and then we'll just dive in. So I know I sent those questions a little late, but you know what you know. So we're just going to flow with it. Like you just said, we're all just going to flow.
Right in the way.
It's like, that's movement and dance, right? It's just flowing. So we'll flow with the conversation as well. All right. So take a couple deep breaths because I'm doing 3 of these today, so I could use it. Okay, so on in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Love of One, Healing and Transformation, where we look into all modalities of finding ourselves back to self-love, love of one, love of ourselves, and hopefully we can inspire you along your own journey. Today, we have a different modality, which is called dance and movement, and how we can express ourselves through somatic movement and what that looks like for you, what you could do on your own at home or get involved in community or go and see somebody like a practitioner like our guest today, which is Bri Anatana, right? Did I say that right? Anahata? Yeah. And she's been doing this work for a very long time, 15 plus years. Yes. But that's not all she does. She does many things. I'll let her explain all the wonderful things about Bree. I met Bree at an ayahuasca ceremony retreat. She was a facilitator and medicine woman there. And then she's also a podcast host of her own right with the Aluna Experience podcast that you can find on Spotify. So Bree, welcome. I'm so honored to have you as a guest today.
Angie, it's such a joy to be here, and really lovely to jump on a space in which I get to share something that I love in hopes of supporting people to find this.
Of course. Can you just explain a little bit about all the things that you offer and hold beautiful space for those who are listening today who may not have found you in other ways?
Yeah, beautiful. My healing journey has really led to the shift of energy into supporting people through what I've experienced in my own path. And I found there's no one way on the path of healing.
Right.
And so I've accumulated different tools and ways, practices and modalities in which I support others to their healing path, to find the wisdom within themselves, to find the ability that we have to heal ourselves. And so some of the ways I do that is with medicine work, as you shared, a beautiful community up in Northern California where we facilitate ayahuasca and San Pedro ceremonies. I also have a private practice which I facilitate one-on-one ceremonies with people with psilocybin. And then through that work on my own healing path, when it started years ago, I discovered the necessity of integration. And so I support clients to integrate these experiences as an integration coach. And in that, tools to integrate are getting into our body and being in our body. And so that's the embodiment piece of how do we come home to this vessel? How do we recognize our truth and be with ourselves throughout the day? And so that's led into facilitating group experiences around expression and getting into the body and connecting to the breath and moving that energy. And so those are some of the healing modalities, but really my healing journey started because I always felt that I was an artist.
Yeah.
I feel that we are, but I just couldn't say that. I couldn't actually express myself. So this unfolding, the medicine work and the integrating it really opened my love of visual art and the many modalities of expression that we have access to. And so supporting people to tap into their authentic expression is something that I really enjoy, that I incorporate into my coaching programs.
Oh, interesting. So I heard you say that during your healing journey of your own transformation steps and process that you wanted to be an artist, but you couldn't step into that and embody that. So what led you down your healing journey? And then when you went through this journey, not only did you say to yourself, oh, I am such a great, profound artist, but did you also see your art being more expressed, more clearly and defined?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like I said, this intention or what called me to my healing path was because I loved to create art, but I couldn't share it. I was really stifled in my throat, like speaking up, expressing myself terrified me. But there's such a deep calling in my soul, this pull to want to create more, this pull to want to, sing and want to connect with my words and to articulate myself. And so, yeah, with the medicine work and integrating those processes, it was this opening of my throat and this discovery of the love of my experience, the love of my body. And from there came this really delicious exploration of the ways in which I can express myself that feel true to me, and peeling away the limiting belief or the insecurity or what will people think about it, or will I be judged, will I be accepted? And once that can move away, there's so much joy in how we express this lived experience.
Yeah. So when people talk about going through healing and waking up in the Great Awakening, and one of the very pivotal walls we have to get down is judgment. And so it's not just judgment of other people, but first we have to stop judging ourselves, wouldn't you say? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it starts, right?
Yeah.
Our judgment of others is usually stems from our own judgment in ourselves.
Right, a mirror.
Valuable tool when we feel and start to recognize some of the judgments that come up on others. If we can flip that toward ourselves, then there's often something, there's something here that's in me that I actually don't accept in myself. And once we access more self-acceptance, that just radiates to everything in the world. Like, I hope you have your truth, because me and my truth feels the best, and I wish that for you.
Yeah, I want that for you as well. Yeah. Yeah. And here's how we can do it. So let's dive in about somatic work, dance and movement. And I'm curious of when you got started with that in your own practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about this today, and really, I can connect to my earliest days as a human, right? In my childhood, I was always playing outside. I was always on a scooter, and I played sports, and I just loved running and, playing with my siblings. And there's something really, I think, important and valuable to look back at your childhood and to look back at the things that you did as a child.
Yeah.
I had this because I used to rollerblade, and then like 2 years ago got a pair of rollerblades.
Sweet.
It's so fun. It's so beautiful to do this piece. I still love those things.
Yeah.
I still to play in those ways. And so that's really where I think movement starts for all of us in a way. Playground.
That's a good point.
It wasn't until, I got older, and it was actually when I was in my early 20s, and I was going to bars with my best girlfriends, and we were dancing, and I felt so like supported and connected with the women that I would go out with. And so we would just be in our bodies and dance. And at that time there was alcohol involved. I was drinking at that point. But it did ignite something in me that I was like, wow, dance feels so good. Like when I'm doing it, to tap into flow state, to move out of my mind and just allow my body to move and allow the music to really guide me. It was like this awe-inspiring awakening of this feels like what I'm supposed to be doing here. And so that totally like unraveled with me stepping on my healing path and stepping into spaces that are really intentional around dance. So ecstatic dance and guided movement practices that really bring intention and breath into these somatic experiences, where it started to click for me, like, oh, this I think is a key to this human experience, is really in our bodies.
Yeah, because we store all this emotion and it has to go somewhere, right? And it just sits stagnant if we don't move our bodies. Sometimes I really like this subject today because it's, it's not always about medicines, and it's not always about, hypnotherapy and all these different things that you have to see practitioners for. But we could also engage with community and ourselves and our own body. And these things are some, when we do it for ourselves, it's free. So these are some methods that we can do on our own as well. So when we talk about guided movement, I've never heard that term before, specifically in the work that you do. Could you explain that a little bit and dive in a little deeper on that?
Yeah. I found that it can be really helpful to have some guidance. I really appreciate ecstatic dance spaces. And if you haven't been to an ecstatic dance, it's essentially, a group of people that come together, and there's often a DJ, and it's often in the morning, and it's totally sober and funky music that kind of goes all over the place. And the intention is to get in your body. And I love it because there's people crawling on the floor, there's people on their backs, there's people sitting in meditation, there's people jumping all over the place, there's often kids there, and it's such a free space of expression. But that's not so accessible to people, actually, to go to that space when you haven't kind of introduced yourself to the practice of your movement. It can be really intimidating. And so middle space is something that I've been cultivating, is a guided practice that guides you to your breath, and it guides you to your body, but also gives you some space. Like, how does fire move through you? How does earth resonate in your system? So you kind of these visualizing cues to help you get creative and find the permission to move your body in a way that feels true and pleasurable and safe. And through movement, I believe we can discover that we have access to that all the time, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that brings up a good point because I can go back to like, middle school, high school dances, and people don't want to go dance, and then you move on and you grow and you go to the bars with your good friends, and not everyone wants to dance like you do because I was like you, I would like, and even in my late 30s, which isn't too long ago, but I would go out with some of my good friends and I live in a college town, right? So all these college students, I'm out there dancing with the college students. I don't care. And my friends are like, oh, I don't want to. Is there a way is that maybe what guided movement is for too, is to help people get out of that shell, be a little more vulnerable of allowing themselves to move in front of other people? And again, I guess that might go back to the judgment we started talking about. Do you think?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it could be quite easy, and we're human, and so it's easy to compare ourselves to others, or
Mhm.
I'm supposed to look a certain way, or I want to look cool, or so many people will say, "Oh, I don't know how to dance," and I don't believe that's
I don't believe
true.
that. Yeah.
I don't know how to dance. So that's the thing, is we're not supposed to know how to dance. We're supposed to feel how to
So,
dance. But your
mm,
body has the capability to find its own rhythm. And so
mhm,
once we can peel away that the judgments, or the fear, or the limiting belief, the fear of being seen, fear of doing something wrong, being in a space of movement can illuminate this. We
uh-huh,
can feel the action of, "Oh, I'm supposed to be doing something," or "I don't fit in here." And if we can get past that, which movement helps us, we can allow ourselves to move and just kind of, you know, invite ourselves into it. And I
mhm,
still have these thoughts that can arise in a space. And there's often a threshold where I know that it's going to shift. And so I start the movement and I kind of, just bait myself in, like, all right,
mm,
let's get in there. And then eventually I shift from the mind into the body, and it just, I skyrocket,
mhm,
into a deeper sense of self, into a joyful expression. And I love doing this by myself,
mhm.
but I especially love it in a group of people, because the collective energy is so powerful.
Radiates. Yeah.
Yeah, and the collective, like, co-regulation of the nervous system is so powerful. And yeah, to do it together, I believe so much healing happens in community.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
when we get to do that, it's so 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 special. And so
Mhm,
getting over ourselves, what the mind think is ourselves, and to tap into movement as a
mhm.
group, creme de la creme.
It sounds yeah, I would agree. It's kinda like when you're out there dancing with a group or you're at a concert and you're up there with a bunch of people and it's just you just walk away so euphoric, right? And, yeah, that's because you're there with, like, all these other beautiful souls and elevating each other every step of the way. And then when you do it outside, you know,
Even better.
it's like even better. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, right back down to Mother Earth. Like,
Mhm.
you get barefoot in the grass and you're dancing in a group. I think that's actually like the best thing possible for the collective. I really do believe
Mhm.
that.
Which is a good point. So, are there certain movements of dance? Like I've heard that stomping and with your hips as a woman is really good, or even as a man to get rid of, the root chakra, open that up and just send that energy. Are there different? I would assume then, based off of that there's other movements or other types of dance that can help move through other different chakra points or emotions. What's your take on that?
Beautiful. So many limbs, like my
Yeah.
my my 20 different directions. Immediately a practice that comes to mind is shaking. And so
Mm,
standing, bending your knees, and just offering a slight bounce. And you want to relax your jaw and just allow your mouth to kind of hang open. And this bounce, if you do it for a couple minutes, I swear can inspire quite a shift in your energetic system.
huh.
And it kind of feels like you're shaking almost from your hips, like
Uh-huh.
kind of from, and
Yeah.
just imagine shaking anything loose from your body. That's one that I often
Mm.
start movement with. It's a safe place. I don't have to be in rhythm of anything. I just start this kind of bounce and allow my body to start to do some of the work that it quite naturally does.
Yeah.
And then what comes to mind, another kind of exploration, is sometimes I just need to be on the floor. I need to
Mm.
be child's pose, or my belly's on the floor, or something that brings me, like, put my hands down on the earth, that feels really grounding. It's like I need to
Mm.
come back to the ground, come back to earth, ground myself. And so any ways that you do that, even just sitting on the ground and bringing your awareness down to the earth, is so impactful,
Mm.
actually,
Mhm.
without even movement. So those are two pieces that I would say a great place to start is just to bring yourself to a deeper sense of awareness around the ground.
Yeah, Mother Earth is very powerful. She likes to suck that right out. And then if you put some trees around you and some grass, and it's really powerful. I hear you. Yeah, and actually, I had an experience not too long ago, and it kind of reminded me of being a little kid going out there in the forest. My mom would always call us in for dinner. Otherwise, my brother and I lived out there like 24/7, and we'd sleep out there a lot too. And but I kind of lost touch of that. And recently, I think of like a month ago, I was doing this photo shoot in the forest, and I was lying on the cold ground. And honestly, I just started bawling my eyes out. It was such a release, and I was just laying there and just letting Mother Earth just like release. It was by this old tree that had fallen down, so there was that energy on top of it, and it was just like just taking away all of this sadness in me. I totally felt it was grief, it was coming, it was just pouring out of me. And yeah, so thank you for sharing that, because that resonated, and I was like, oh, that's a normal thing.
Yeah, it's so accessible, right?
Yeah.
And I know I'm in California, so we don't have such a winter, but we are still in winter, and so maybe it feels less accessible with the cold weather. But being outside, taking your shoes off, putting your hands in some running water, connecting to nature with our body, it's such a powerful tool for healing, truly. And it's everywhere. You're outside, hopefully every day, at least once a day. And so take a moment to connect to nature is really something that can support us in so many ways.
So that's a good point too. A lot of people think that just connecting with nature with your shoes off is literally on the sand or the dirt, but you can also do it on concrete, rock, right? And it's the same thing. So
wood floor, I like.
Wood floor, yeah.
I like being barefoot, and that's something that I recognize even as a child. I was barefoot all the time, always barefoot. And now it's become the opposite, where I always have shoes on, and so
yeah, it's true. So we get older. Yeah.
My shoes are off.
Yeah. Mine are on right now, but I'm not wearing any socks. So with dance though, what kind of dance do you usually do with your community? So you mentioned the one where you're doing a group and you're all kind of like doing the breath and stuff, but do you work that in with any of your other medicines or any of your other modalities to amplify that? And I'm curious which ones those are.
Yeah, so incorporating movement into medicine, I think, is a really fascinating possibility. And I've worked some with my dear colleagues and soul who you spoke to earlier, and created a integrative inner child retreat, which we're planning to put one up later in the year. And we microdose on ayahuasca and utilize movement and sound to unfreeze the inner child.
Oh, interesting.
And so, yeah, ayahuasca is a very powerful medicine if you haven't experienced it. And through this community, you could go quite deep with this medicine in the retreats that we facilitate. But this one, we wanted to bring more space to integrate what is coming up immediately. And so that's the microdose of ayahuasca, because it can bring awarenesses up or bring fear up or put the magnifying glass on something from our childhood or a traumatic experience from our life. And so once it brings it up, we utilize guided movement and guided sound practices to release it, to integrate it, to open it up, to express it. So it's less of in a normal journey. You can kind of go into the trauma and maybe you see it from different angles and maybe you process it. But in this way, it starts to come up. We move the body to move that energy pretty immediately. And so that's a really powerful retreat that is.
Oh, wow.
It's a really special retreat.
That sounds amazing. What comes to mind to me is that before an ayahuasca ceremony, we do a breath work, which also releases a lot of those the layer of stuff that you need to move so that you can allow ayahuasca when it's ceremony time to get deeper into your journey. So is that work in the same sense that instead now you're using movement instead of breath work, but in movement's a little, probably just as powerful, but maybe just a little different, right? Because now you're just shaking it out of your body. Yeah. Like get out, let some room come out, is that, yeah?
Yeah, and they're similar in that, there's no movement without breath,
That's a good
right?
point.
And
Yeah.
so as we dance and as we move, your heart rate increases and your breath has to catch up with it.
Mm.
And it's beautiful about music, especially music that you like,
Uh-huh.
that resonates with your system. I like stuff that feels a little tribal, that has drums.
I love
that
that.
has
It's my favorite.
really, there's something ancestral about it. It's something
Very much.
tribal about it. And so if we really can allow ourselves to get into rhythm, breath is going to match it.
Mhm.
And similar to the breath work, specifically that we do with the Luna, but in general, I know there's other breathing techniques,
Mhm.
is that we utilize the breath, but we also do utilize movement. And so there's the toning and the tantrum that we do, and,
Yep.
and different body mapping that we do. And so the breath and movement are really like allies and sisters,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. So with the tribal dancing, I do that at home by myself mostly, or my kids. I have my little kids join, my big kids join, and I'm always playing that music at home. And it's kind of like you're listening to it. You can't help but not move your body when it's that type of music. And then we do feel a lot better. We feel happier. We feel more energized and joyful, and yeah, it's like and then our breath is like whew,
Yeah,
yeah.
it gets things moving,
Mhm.
right? And helps us, like I said, to move from the mind into the body and move stagnant energy to regulate our nervous system, which is huge. I think that's such an important thing. It's probably the most important thing as a human being, is our ability to regulate our nervous system
Yeah.
in a way that is full and stimulating and beautiful but intense, and there's so much happening. The key is, how do we find our sense of center? How do we come back to a neutral state when we can often get activated and find ourselves in fight or flight for elevated amounts of time? That's
Yeah.
not sustainable system.
Yeah.
And so the difficulties in which we learn to regulate our nervous system to come back to center is so important. And I believe there's many modalities to do that. Cold plunge and different things that can kind of like bring our nervous system into that intense state just to ground and to be with. But I believe movement is one too, to really activate ourselves and then to calm is key to our healing path, a key to
Yeah.
us being connected to our bodies, a key to us being in alignment and in our truth. Yeah.
When you
Powerful
said,
practice.
yeah, when you said the nervous system, that struck a chord because I think a lot of people struggle with that. Fight or flight is common as a human. We're constantly being pushed and pulled in many directions. We have lots of responsibilities, go to work, pay the bills, be a mom, go to, do the dishes, go to the grocery store. How can we not live in fight or flight? So if we're talking about making our nervous system or assisting our nervous system and honoring our body, that starts with movement, would you say? More so um, than
Yeah,
something else?
I would say movement is a powerful tool to help move energy so that we aren't as overloaded with like all the things that you just listed. It can help to clear some of that so that we can find a place of center. But any practice that guides us, back to our body, which I've discovered isn't always an easy thing.
Yeah.
It's not always a thing. And so I've discovered a modality called somatic experiencing that I incorporate into my practice, and I'm in the process of becoming certified in. And it's really a soft practice back into the body. And what it does is it supports people to connect to something that feels good in the body, actually. Because often we're connected to what somatic experiencing calls the trauma vortex,
Yeah.
which can be stuck in the trauma loop. Like we can really feel all of the really intense feelings, and we're stuck in that loop. And so somatic experiencing brings us actually to something that's feels good in our body. So can we come back to a more neutral state and maybe touch over to that trauma, but then come back to a sense of center? And so it feels really soft on the nervous system, and it's a slower unfolding. Ayahuasca can be shaking a champagne bottle and fucking the top off sometimes.
Yeah,
Which
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Ayahuasca has changed my life totally in deeply profound ways. And in the last couple of years, I found what my nervous system needs is actually softness.
Mm.
The experiences from my youth were quite intense, and so my nervous system, in order to open, needs that soft opening and that soft presence. And movement can be that, but somatic experiencing is where someone guides you into your body to that softening place to be able to recalibrate your own nervous system.
I see. So could you just talk about the word somatic? Because not everybody understands what that really means,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somatic means of the body, essentially. And so when I say somatic modalities or somatic practices, it's anything of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's many ways that you can connect to your body. And movement, and we're talking about dance, yoga, breath work, touch is really powerful. There's times where I feel that I'm overthinking and overdoing things. How can I bring a softness to my life and my day? And so this is oiling my body after a shower. This is breathing softly with myself, and really giving myself to connect to me, right? We got to start the day running, and we start the emails, and we've got the text messages, and the kids have to go, and then I have to be at work, and I have to think. And we're fascinating humans that have the capability to run all day.
Yeah.
But how special and important it is to just give yourself a moment for yourself.
Honor it.
Be with yourself some way, and to be in the body is key.
Yeah. That's a good point too, is that to be in your body. So there's this energy collectively that's going around where people aren't honoring their body, meaning they're not only is it this self-love of the things that you just described, but also of just like listening to your body, right? And there are some practices, I know you're pretty good at that too. Is there some practices that you can provide our listeners today that allow them to sink into that and anchor into their body by listening to their body? Is it simply just laying down and asking questions?
Yeah, it can be. And we're talking about movement here, and it's one of my favorite things in life, because of course we're humans and we move. But movement does help me to clear the chatter, to clear the blockages, to clear anything that I feel like I'm holding, to get more clear on my intuition, to get clear on listening, to have more space for what wants to arise, more space for my truth.
Yeah.
If you ever feel, this feeling that you have to be doing something and you're moving from task to task and you can't sit for a moment, movement can help to, like I said, clear some of that space. And if you could come to a sense of stillness, then what arises is what is next to do. But if we don't give ourselves that stillness from which our truth can arise, then we end up just running and ping-ponging around, and I think burning ourselves out.
Oh, for sure.
And so to find a sense of stillness
Excuse me. Mm-hmm.
can come from movement.
So they go hand in hand. It's not just about sitting still versus movement. You really need both of them to work together to then listen to your body and hear what it has to say, because it does help you. It does tell you, it wants to tell you that, hey, don't put that crap in my mouth, because you're sending it right to my gallbladder, or, and it doesn't like that particular food, or just something simple like that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, we don't often give ourselves space to listen. And all of our answers, our truth is really in our bodies. And so whatever ways we can access that stillness, whether it's being in nature, whether it's movement, whether it's meditation, then to find that so that you can connect to that spaciousness and come to realize what is actually in alignment for you, come to realize what your truth is. And I believe, so many people come to medicine work and wanting to connect to your higher self, and I want to walk my divine path, and I want to walk my truth. But if we don't give ourselves space every day to be with ourselves, we will never know what that is.
Yeah, that's
How
true.
could you? We're running in every direction. And
Yeah.
so to come every day to self and give yourself a moment, then that's how you learn about who you actually are.
That's a good point.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had this sinus problem for a long time after my mom passed away in 2012. And I'm like, I'm so tired. Can we just, and it wasn't until just last week. I've been working on so many layers for years. And last week I sat and I just really like sat with so much intention and emotion, asking my body, what do we need to do? And it said, get your tooth pulled. Number 31's got to go. So I did that. And then I'm like, I'm not immediately better. And they're like, it's going to take some time. But what I did hear my body say pretty loud and clear and showed me was that I still had all this trauma, this inner child trauma from being a teenager of feeling lack of love and connection and security in my body. And guess where that's all held also is in your number 31 tooth. And it crosses across your sinuses. And so I was like, okay. So now what do? I'm going to dive in and do some body movement and work on my inner child. That's what I'm going to do because my teenager's pissed off. So we're going to have to work that out. So yeah, that so resonates.
There's so much in our sense of self, of who we are right now in our lives, that is totally a accumulation of our childhood. Right? If you haven't done inner child work, I recommend it.
Yeah.
Your answers of your lack of self-worth, or your lack of self-belief, or your limiting beliefs, or your condition, all of it
Yeah.
stem from our childhood. And so to be able to reconnect to our little you that's still very much present here, always.
Yeah.
And often are, when you feel this contraction, when you feel the limiting beliefs, or you feel fear, it's often your inner child that's huddled in your system in a corner that is terrified.
Yeah.
And so to integrate that part of yourself and to be with that part of yourself and to cultivate a feeling of safety for that inner child will shift your whole life, will shift your relationships, will shift how you communicate with people, will shift the work that you do. It's all in the inner child that is in your system right now.
Yeah. And just when you think you're done with your inner child, there's still more to go. And you're like, it's the hardest work. People were like, your parents. I was like, when you start doing inner child work, you have a different perspective too of your parents. And all of a sudden now they become not like you're a victim of your childhood of your parents. It's more like, wow, they are amazing teachers for me. Like I'm learning so much through them. And that's why when you're a parent, that's, for those who are listening, like, just keep doing what you're doing because at the end it's all worth it. And once they understand that you're just being like the best teacher you can have that you chose before you came here, it just makes everything so much better and it looks differently, doesn't it, on the other side?
It was I remember the time in my healing journey when I came to this understanding that my parents really have done the best that they could with what they were given. Such a softening in my system and an understanding and a gratitude for what they gave, from what they knew how, and pieces that they didn't because they didn't know, and for me to unfold and to find my truth. Really important. And I'm not a parent, but I give parents so much credit because I think it's the hardest job that there is.
It's hard.
And sharing all that you've known and to come to a healing path and to try to stop the passing on of trauma to your children. It's never too late to do that. It's never too late to bring awareness to how you interact with your children. So
it's never too late. It's true though. It is never too late. You bring up a good point there is that healing, we're never done healing. We'll probably never be done healing even when we exit this existence. But that's the whole point is soul growth. It's not just Angie growth or Bree growth. It's soul growth from who we are. And we don't even know who that is until we start to move through these things. And once we move through all these things and unlock now we start to remember who we are, right? And that's where it all is like really fun. So, but you do have to do the work. It's like we did a podcast episode of Ascension, and Ascension is all about, well, what is Ascension? Ascension is growth, but it's your personal growth. It's your growth. You are going to ascend if you dive in. So that being said, I really kind of want to discuss like how dance could be used as a meditative practice. So like on a different level of meditative practice, because a lot of people say, Angie, I don't have time to meditate for an hour, but there's so many forms.
Yeah, I believe movement is a meditative practice because it brings me to a deeper state of presence. I'm not so thinking about what I have to do later today, and I'm not thinking about what I was doing yesterday. I really feel in presence with my body. A deeper state of mindfulness. And I mean, so many pieces to movement that like, what is meditation? Like, what are you trying to attain, right? And so if it's presence and peace and mindfulness, then movement can take you there, but also like to support us in shifting energy, or to become more aware of where is my energy. Like, I don't always come into a dance experience feeling that I have to totally shake it and high energy and I need to bounce around. Sometimes it's so slow and I don't like really even doing it, but I'm going to come and I'm going to bring that here, and I'm going to feel like a sloth, and it's really meeting myself where I am. And I think that's really the importance of what meditation is to come into more awareness of where I am at any given moment. So not forcing myself to move in any certain way, but to really be with, okay, what just is here? What wants to be here?
Yeah.
Finding more permission, more self-acceptance, more truth in myself, more alignment. And who doesn't want those things in your life? Right? That's a way to embody that.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to be aligned?
Right?
It's so much better space to be in when you're aligned with yourself and your space around you, right? Yeah. On a communal dance, how does that contribute to individual healing, collective healing? We already talked about how it amplifies us and brings us up. And does it really matter what type of communal dance this is, or events or rituals, or do you offer any of these yourself?
Yeah, I think there's so many, like there's so many kinds of music, and there's anything from ecstatic dance that is more freeform to more guided, structured dance. And so it's such an exploration to find what resonates, to find a kind of music that resonates. There's drum circles that are powerful. I get a circle of people playing drums. I think that is mind-blowing how deeply ancestral that feels. But movement and dance feels like a language that everyone speaks. And so no matter where we go, we can connect through movement. We can connect through dance, much like I think we can connect through music and song and sound. And so, finding a space of community that values movement is a self-exploration to find, what sits with you. I actually just recently, for the first time, I went to a pole dancing class, and I've never done this before, and it was so powerful and so beautiful to be with a group of women and to tap into our sensual movement, and it was so freeing. And so homework is to explore and find the different spaces in which you feel the most held, the most activated in a way that feels good to the system. But it's so beautiful. Like, it really feels like the most nourishing thing there is, to be in a space that you feel safe in, to emotionally release, to express yourself, to really allow yourself to be in. And I'm in the moment of kind of landing some different movement practices in physical locations, but at the moment offer online one-on-one coaching, somatic embodiment experiences.
Oh, okay. What does that look like?
Essentially connecting with clients one-on-one to better understand on the individual level, what are you trying to connect to? Is it a deeper sense of of presence and peace in your life? Is it to open your expression, to step more into your authenticity? We kind of explore that together, and I support you with modalities to tap more into your expression, to open that up, to connect to yourself in some of these modalities that we have shared on this podcast already. And so it's a really way to deepen that practice in which I get to support my clients in doing.
That's awesome. And so you're doing this some work at Luna. I'm super excited about that. Do you have other plans in the future to do some similar work and co-creating?
Always. I think collaboration is what we're also meant here to do.
Yeah.
So coming together, in different spaces, in different ways around expression, talking about movement, but expression feels like almost a layer on top of this. There's so much to learn about us in relation to our expression, and kind of started the podcast that way. And so, yeah, always fascinated and excited about the bubbling potential of coming together and expressing ourselves. And yeah, I feel really, really called to work with women and co-create spaces of connection and expression and, movement for sure. But I think there's something in bringing in the intention of tapping into our sensuality and tapping into, we are sensual beings, and it's okay to be that. It's okay to express ourselves in that way, to move our life force in that way. And so that's something that I'm expanding into at the moment.
Is that tantric? Am I saying that right? Tantric movement? What is that? Because it's part of movement. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's an exploration that's new to me, and I'll be transparent, is that there is something so enticing about tantric work. And tantra is defined in many, many ways, but it's essentially like integrating the fullness of this human experience in this body, like the full pleasure of this experience in all that it is. And there's something very enticing about it, and there's something in me that's like, whoa, there's something a little scary here. And so that's why I'm leaning more into it and leaning more into spaces of people coming together to express our sensuality in a safe way. And I believe, our sexuality is our life force, and it's how everything got here.
Yeah.
It's how and it's such a taboo thing in society, and especially as a woman, it's like, be sexy, but don't be sexual. There's such this paradox that sometimes I feel that we're dancing in. And so better understand to not fear our sensuality and really feel expressed and free and safe and aligned in it is something that I'm discovering and implementing into how I support people in my coaching practice by guiding them more into their body, utilizing breath, cycling their energy through their system, through their body. It's been a beautiful discovery so far.
Do you think that is also a good practice to assist those who've had physical trauma and are afraid to step into something about their body and allow themselves a vulnerability to just let go and be there? So we have our belief systems of everything we've been programmed to think about a woman being sexy but not sexual. But I think it also stems from sexual abuse and trauma for many as well, that they feel like they can't get into their body in that way. Is that something else that this helps with, I would imagine?
Yeah, and I think some of this piece that I shared around the somatic experiencing that I've accumulated is really moving with softness. Don't need to rip anything open. Moving with a gentleness and an ease, and to reconnect with the body and reconnect with the system. And when we do that softness, I think we can open a little more, and maybe something arises, maybe a memory comes up, or maybe fear comes up. But if we can learn to be with that and learn to integrate it, learn to accept it, learn to love ourselves even with that, then we come to a deeper state of wholeness. And so, yeah, it's a gentle invitation, because that's how I've needed it in my own journey, in my own space, is to be slowly with it. And so working more one-on-one with clients in this way, and it's going to grow into group practices. We're really feeling the slowness of the safety that's cultivated one-on-one, so that you can open up with yourself and feel safe first with you, And when you feel safe with you, when you cultivate a feeling of safety in your own body, then no one can take that from you.
Yeah.
anywhere.
And then that's when you feel safe enough to be in a community because you've worked through that trauma on your own and feeling that safety in yourself again. Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful work. Hmm. Yeah.
And it's, I think our healing journey, we accumulate tools that eventually we turn and share with others.
Yeah.
That feels like the natural world order. Is, you
Yeah.
accumulate this wisdom, and now it's this thing really helped me, and I know it can help others. I know it'll resonate with other
Yeah.
systems.
That's why we're having this podcast, because I've tried everything that I've so far that I've interviewed, because everyone needs to know about this and what fits for you. What's your puzzle look like, and what pieces go into your puzzle? Is it this? Is it that? Is it a mixture? It's always a mixture, but what is that recipe, right? What does that look like to you? And apparently I brought enough for everybody's trauma to work through, so that I still have more modalities to try and work through some more crap. But that's that was my role, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, same. It's such a process. It's such an unfolding.
Yeah.
It's life journey is one of healing, I believe. Like once you step on the path, it's layers and layers and layers and layers. And I've come to love it. I feel like there's nothing else that I'd rather do here. And understand tools that I accumulate help others. And so it's my own healing journey and being of service to others at the same time.
Yeah.
And so really celebrating you on your journey and all those that you inspire with this podcast and all that we touch with resonating at our own authentic truth and being ourselves. Like that is such medicine.
Yeah. I don't know if it's for you, but the more I keep diving in, the more I'm like, okay, let's do it some more. Like it, like the one fuels me to keep going and keep going. So for anyone listening today who's like, I don't know about any of this, I don't think I even want to try. But once you try, and then you're like, okay, and then you'll feel how much lighter you are, how much more joyful you are, like how relieved you are. You're not as tense in your body. And then it drives you and motivates you to try the next thing, or to do that one thing again and again until you're done with that, right? Like they say, I think it was Buddha, or I don't know, I'm not good about the memory on that part, but when he says, once your teacher leaves, you no longer need that teacher, right? So you just keep going until you don't need it anymore. There's lots of teachers of my healing process have come and gone, and sometimes then they pop back in and you're like, oh no. But okay. I know what that means, but that's fine.
Something that I've said, and I've heard many say it outside of ceremony, outside of medicine work, is I didn't realize that I was wearing a backpack until I took it off.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah, I think that's so common is we don't realize what we are carrying. We don't realize, what's weighing on our system because we've been carrying it potentially our whole lives.
Yeah.
And we've got so used to it, and we're overcompensating and, closing our hearts in certain ways or moving through the world in a way that's not our full selves. And so once we find the modalities and practices and the teachers and whatever that start to loosen that, start to just layers of it, all of a sudden your breath is deeper, and all of a sudden you're more present. All of a sudden you're more joyful in your life. And once you realize that that's possible, that is what this healing path is, how could you do anything else besides find your truth and find your alignment in whatever way feels resonate with your system?
Yeah, and keep following that path.
Exactly.
Is there any other tips or any other things that our listeners could take away today that you haven't covered yet, but you'd love to?
Yeah, first, I have the word pleasure coming to my mind.
Go with it.
Yes, something that I have come to deeply appreciate is movement as a form to connect to pleasure in our body. And that's not always accessible to people as well. But to kind of unravel and to clear the way and to connect to our accessibility or our allowance. Like we are allowed pleasure. We are divine beings that like pleasure is kind of a birthright.
Yeah, it's emotional, like euphoric, emotional thing that you're supposed to experience.
Find ways, and for me it's movement, and for others there's other ways that allows you to experience pleasure in your body is life changing, to be honest.
Yeah.
And our pleasure is really such an arrow, and such an arrow to where to go, like what feels alive in our system, like and for me, like what enlivens me, what brings pleasure to my body and my experience has really been such an indicator of where to go in my path. And so I recommend this also to people that want to tap more into their feminine energy. We have masculine and feminine energy in all of us. But to tap more into the feminine is to bring pleasure into your life. And there's so many ways to do it. It's walking barefoot on the beach. It's taking a bath. It's buying yourself flowers. It's wearing a perfume you like. Like there's so many ways to implement more pleasure into your life. And movement is also a really powerful way to connect to more pleasure in your body.
It's true. Thank you so much for today. I always enjoy our conversations.
Thank you so
Of course, how can people find you so they can connect with you and do some one-on-ones and follow you where your ceremonies go and all that stuff?
much. I have a website, Brianna Anahata, there we go, .com. And then Instagram is something that I'm working to share more of myself on, and some of the events that I do and the ways to contact me. So either one of those avenues are ways to connect. And yeah, I always feel so excited to connect to people that resonate with my work. And so would love to connect to anyone that has a question or inspiration or anything that was brought up. I think, yeah, I love community and I love people in general. So
yeah, you're a good people lover. Well, thank you so much. I'm honored and so grateful for you today and to share your story and your knowledge and your wisdom. And I love it. Thank you so much. And for everyone who's listening today, you can find all the information about Bree to connect with her within the description of this episode. And as well as the outro will also include all ways to contact her. So thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Good job.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I love it. And I learned some things today. I'm excited.
So activating, which makes sense, right? But to have a space to share is really, I took a whole bunch of notes, but never looked at them. And